Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Climb, the Confident Leader podcast. I'm your host, Rahul Karan Sharma, and today I have a guest coming in from California. And this guest has a very unique background when it comes to the work that she has done in her career. And I'm very excited to spend some time with her and share what amazing things that she has been doing and what she is planning to do. Our guest is a mental performance coach and a human design reader, helping leaders, couples, and a team create more aligned, sustainable ways of working and relating. With a background in sports and performance psychology, she blends science and soul to guide others towards clarity, confidence, and connection. Her work challenges outdated models of leadership and success by honoring how each person is uniquely wired to thrive. Wow, what an amazing background she has. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for none other than founder and coach of Mundo Musing, Krystal Kohlberg, to our show. Krystal, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. That was amazing.
Awesome. I think the kind of work that you do and how you are intersecting the sports, the corporate world is simply phenomenal. And I'm sure our listeners would be very eager to learn the work that you do. Before we dive into more of that, can you tell our audience about your leadership journey, how you started and how you have reached to where you are today?
Sure, yeah. I would actually say mine started more academically. I just had regular jobs. I wasn't in leadership roles, but I was studying leadership.
Hmm.
And then it didn't really land until I was applying it in real life. I sort of feel like I was fed to the wolves. I got promoted kind of out of nowhere at my job and ended up managing pretty much a whole company with I would say not no training, but barely any training.
Hmm.
And the training was actually on the day-to-day logistics of things, but not of the leadership part. It was just the technical skills for the role. So I was really glad I had the leadership training and the leadership education knowledge because those two worlds collided there.
Yeah.
And so I've been in, I would say, managerial role for several years. And then I also have the, academic side where I've been studying leadership and teaching people leadership. And I've done a lot of work actually, which is very different, but with athletes and like team captains and how they also can lead even as, 16-year-olds on their high school team.
Wow. So you were basically helping the future leaders of our country. So that's great.
Yeah.
Teaching high school kids on leadership is phenomenal, and I believe that leadership is something. There is no age to learn about leadership. There is no minimum age, I would say. You can learn as soon as you are out of your mother's womb, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because leadership is all about the aspects that you are observing. Leadership is about the community in which you are living. Leadership is not only about learning from the classroom, it
Mhm.
is more outside of the classroom. You learn from the environment, you learn from your experiences, you learn from your colleagues, you learn from your family members. So thank
Yeah.
you, Crystal, for the work that you are doing to build the future of America. Thank you. Um, on that note, I wanted to understand from your perspective what kind of mindset shift you had to go through in what you were doing and what you are planning to do or what you schedule to do. Was there a very seamless transition for you, or you had to really plan things for yourself?
It's interesting. I I think for a long time I was very like black and white, do what the textbook says. Like I have the very be a good girl training and just like sit down, shut up, kids are meant to be seen and not heard
Uh-huh.
and follow all the rules. And that I mean, admittedly got me through a lot of things, I'm sure. But there came a point when that mindset didn't serve me anymore.
Hmm.
And when I think that's kind of when human design came in. I was going through my own personal growth spurt. I think we're always growing, but sometimes there's moments where it's a lot at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had a lot at once moment for personal growth. I kind of came into my spiritual growth journey. I found human design and realized I had never found like a personality assessment type of system that I felt so seen in and I felt could give me very practical tips. I had
Mm.
taken all of the Myers-Briggs and every personality assessment pretty much.
A
And
16 PF to
yeah.
yeah.
And they'll tell you some things about yourself. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's me."
Mm,
Okay, but what do I do with knowing that is, I
mm,
think, the question. And human design gave me that. And that was when I had to really say, okay, well, am I just going to stick with sport and performance psychology and give not just, it's really good information. Here's how you set goals and how you communicate and how you lead. But I was giving everyone the same suggestions, same tips, same
mm,
coaching, and some of it wasn't even landing for me personally. Like, "This tip doesn't even work for me. I don't care that the textbook says it."
mhm.
And so I took a detour at that point to integrate these 2 worlds that seemingly don't go together, but I think go together perfectly in my mind.
All right. So for you, human design is something really gave that push, gave that ray of hope for you to move forward. And interestingly, I learned from you earlier that you also use human design in your coaching business. So
Yes.
tell me, because this is not something I have seen a whole lot of coaches use. They
Mhm.
use a lot of other, as you were mentioning, other tools, but not human design. So, tell me from your experience how this tool helps an individual to prepare better as well as to boost their self confidence, self belief. Enlighten us.
Yeah, so one of the things in the personal development world that I've heard a lot of that I disagree with is find someone who's done what you wanna do and copy what they did. And
Mm,
so I think a lot of times and it makes sense. You're like, "Well, they're successful, so I wanna be successful too," but their strategies aren't necessarily meant for us. And the reason that they were successful is they found the way that works for them. So I think we're meant to be inspired by people and maybe even try on their strategies, but not force them on ourselves. And, for me personally and for my clients, it's when we're trying to force strategies that were someone else's, and then we somehow make ourselves wrong when they don't work for us. Like, something must be wrong with me because their strategy didn't work for me.
mm,
So I'm the problem. And so human design helps people become more confident because it's like, no, that just wasn't your way of doing that. Here is a different path that you can take that's personalized to you. And it makes us, I think, understand that we all are unique and have a unique approach. And there's nothing wrong with the approaches or my approach being different than your approach. And the person you're learning from is not wrong. You're not wrong. You just have a different strategy.
So, so the individual is not just getting vanilla kind of response, but very unique to their personality, very unique to their experiences, and probably that's what makes the human design as differentiator. So,
Mhm.
so thank you for sharing that, Crystal, and really appreciate that. Now, you, since you mentioned earlier that you have worked with the sports world, as you have coached captains and coaches and the senior players, and I'm a sports fan. I write about sports. I learn a lot from sports, even by watching them. And I know that in sports, preparation is a non-negotiable. Whereas I come from a corporate world, spending 20 years in the ID staffing industry, and I do see many people, they don't spend time in preparing themselves for maybe the next meeting or the next call. So based on your experience, Crystal, why do you think corporate professionals often overlook preparation, and from your guidance, how does that impact confidence?
Yeah, it's true. I was thinking about this in the way that sports, it is like, you go to practice from this time to this time on this day. That is defined intentional practice time.
Right.
And then you show up at this time for the game, and that is your performance time. And there's these clearly defined boundaries and time set aside for both.
Right.
In the professional world, in the corporate world, it's almost all the performance time, or it at least feels that way. You
Mm,
show up, you're at work, you're on, and that is your performance. And so I think that practice gets overlooked or preparation gets overlooked because there isn't a time for that
Mm,
necessarily unless you intentionally create it for yourself.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think it depends obviously on someone's job, their schedule, what they have going on, if they can allocate time to that. Are you going to take time to rehearse this presentation or make notes for your meeting? How are you preparing and are you intentionally setting aside time for that? And I think for confidence purposes, people need to find their method of preparation.
Got it. Yeah, I think you very aptly mentioned that in the corporate world, it's all about performance time. It's a game time every time. And yes, there are very few of us, those people who were truly prepared, prepared for their next day, prepared for their next meeting, prepared for their travel, whatever it is, they were very, very prepared. And it was very much visible with their performance, with their confidence. Because when you are prepared, your confidence it has a different level. So, as Crystal also mentioned, we need to create that time in our schedule. Just like in sports, how we have a scheduled preparation time or practice time, we need to have similar thing instead of just having performance, performance, performance. So, thank
Mhm.
you for bringing that up. And when I was doing a research on your company and on you, I learned that you talk a lot about resistance and the flow in your practice.
Mm.
So, how can our leaders identify what's blocking them from peak performance and how they can move towards flow?
Yeah. I use a lot of again, this is where human design comes in a lot for me and what I was saying earlier about not requiring yourself or expecting yourself to perform in the way everyone else does.
Hmm.
And when I'm saying that, I think sometimes there's even resistance to that. People thinking I'm saying, "Oh, well, you don't have to perform as well." And it's not as much as the outcome of your performance that I'm speaking to. It's again, it's how you prepare. It is how you show up. It's how you study, how you communicate. Some people are meant to be a little more, I would say, structured, and
Hmm.
some people are meant to be a little more I would say flowy, but not in the flow sense of having some flexibility. Some people are more meant to study like book smart type of study, and some people are meant to trial and error things out, more of like the kinesthetic learner. And I think knowing this about themselves and allowing themselves to do things in the way that works for them allows for more flow rather than trying to force a method that is someone else's method.
Hmm. So, they need to create or they need to identify their own method
Mhm.
rather than just following whatever is working for others.
Correct.
And that will help them to focus on that, not just on the peak performance but eventually focus on their endurance, focus on their agility, which all leads to performance actually.
Yes, exactly.
And another thing, we were just talking. So, as I told you about sports, I learned from sports, and
Mhm.
I have a son, 11-year-old, who's also a sports fan. So we were watching this series on Netflix, Quarterbacks, and the season 2 is out. We are scheduled to watch this weekend. And one thing I learned in that series, not that that was the first time, but it was reiterated that athletes they just do not play or practice in season. They practice, they prepare in the off season as well.
Mhm.
So, in your experience and from your perspective, what do you think an off season might look for leaders and how they can keep up with their mental wellness all year round? Any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna come down to your personal job and the rhythm that your, work happens in. Like you're saying off season in corporate, does that depends on what that looks like. Do you have, like, a certain quarter of the year where it's crazy push, 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 and then you have a little bit more downtime the rest of the year? Is it
Hmm.
like holiday seasons are more intense? It depends. You'd have to find the rhythm of your own workflow and figure out what would the off season kind be for you. If there isn't one, you kind of need to create one for
Mm,
yourself, even if that's like we were talking about earlier, intentionally scheduling preparation or practice time. Can you intentionally step back a little bit? And I don't mean not doing your job, but I mean creating more space, whether that is upping the things outside of work, whether that's your fitness or your self care or more time with your, like in your social life, ways of filling your cup back up if you feel like work is being a little more depleting,
mm.
and knowing how to strike that balance. Again, that's going to be, I don't like to give generic advice because everyone's work and workflow and rhythms are going to be a little different. But finding that for yourself and intentionally creating that time and space to have, I'm going to call it downtime, but to fill your cup back up from a hard push.
Correct. One of the thing I noticed that for us in our industry, it was more the holidays time.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, Q4 was the was sometimes it used to be like light, but over the last post-COVID season, it was more very hectic. And what I've observed, what leaders used to do during off season was primarily completing their non-core work, which could be not a revenue generation work. Maybe it could be completing their compliance training, or probably taking care of the reports, or maybe doing some self development work.
Yes.
And probably the thing that is what you are recommending. One is definitely we need to find time for ourselves. Find time, and I said that find that off season for us,
Hmm.
and don't just create that just for sake of creation. Be intentional about it. That how you want to spend that day. Sometimes learning may not be the right thing for you to do because it is again related to your mental health, because you need to be mentally present. Uh,
Hmm.
just taking a chill, maybe not having those back to back calls, not getting up early, or maybe spending more time for on your self care could be another aspect to take care in the off season. So thank you, Crystal, for bringing that up. That off season will vary from person to person, and I appreciate that you're not giving that generic advice because it's very very specific. And you may be right that for some folks there will be no off season, so they
Hmm.
need to create one. Now, since your experience on the sports side, what one strategy, preparation strategy, would you suggest that you use with athletes to our corporate professionals, corporate leaders?
Well, that what one strategy applies to both, to all of them.
Yes.
Uh, to me, the thing that's across the board is that mental preparation and being intentional about it.
Mm,
I always say my philosophy is increasing self-awareness
mm,
and intentionally taking action based on what you find out. Those intentional action steps are going to be personalized, but developing your own sense of awareness. Where am I in my own way? Where am I right now? Where do I want to go? Sort of just developing that sense of awareness. And we always have more to learn about ourselves. It's like layers and layers. And then
true.
taking an intentional action step to towards the direction you wanna go. Is it a habit you want to break, or is there a new one you wanna create? How
Mhm.
can I intentionally start implementing steps in that direction?
All right. Yes, I think I do agree with you on that step aspect. Be consistent. Most of the time, we take intentional step, maybe for a week, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. And that is it.
Yeah.
There's one thing I always remember, Crystal. I learned from my coach. He told me that it's not about of just taking consistent action, but focus on taking imperfect consistent action. Most of us, we focus on taking that perfect consistent
Mhm.
action. Sometimes what we need is just taking the step. That's
Mhm.
just moving forward is important. So thank you for resonating that the mental preparation and being intentional.
Yeah.
Now, Crystal, if someone listening to our podcast and need to work with you, or is excited to introduce human design in their organization, what's the best way for them to connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, my website is the best place to see what I have to offer. That is just my name, krystalkohlberg.com, and then you can also connect with me on Instagram.
All right, we will include that in our show notes. People don't need to take notes on that website or Instagram handle. So
Perfect.
will tag you once we release our episode. Well, that's been so pleasure to connect with you and learn more about you. Before we let you go, there are two things we need to do. One is now we will move to a rapid fire round where five questions will be coming your way and we would want to hear responses. And two is I will share my learnings from the show today. And that would be the time for our listeners and watchers to point down their learnings in the comments. So before we do that, let's move to a rapid fire round. Krystal, you ready?
Yes.
Awesome. A quotation that you live by.
Ooh, a quotation that I live by. Oh man, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that
Oh,
one.
okay, that's fine. Um, are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a morning person.
Okay. And what's one daily routine you never skip?
Ooh, daily routine I never skip. Wow. I don't really have one, to be honest. I should say this. I don't have one that stays consistent for forever. I go through phases. Like what I was just saying earlier about what is the intentional step. I will create a habit or a routine for whatever it is I'm currently working on.
Okay.
For me right now, that is less phone time. So
Mm,
it is intentionally putting my phone on do not disturb or airplane mode and setting it away from me. Bedtime especially, but even throughout the day, giving myself some space from that device.
all right. Okay. That's a very unique answer. So thank you for sharing your
Yeah.
perspective. Uh, what's one leadership skill you wished someone would have taught you earlier?
Ooh, connections,
Connections. Okay.
having better connections.
And the last one, if your career were a Netflix series, what would the title of season one be?
If my career was the World Series, what would the title?
Netflix series, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking sports. If it was no oh, title of season 1. I don't know. I'm
Just
sorry.
whatever is coming to your mind, anything coming to your mind?
No.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it. That was Krystal Kohlberg for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's time for me to share my learning. So there were a lot of golden nuggets that were dropped throughout the episode by Krystal. And I'm sure you would have also taken those into account. So that this is the time for you to mention those golden nuggets from your perspective in the comments. For me, the first one was don't always look for a person who has done the job that you are looking for. Yes, you can get inspiration from them, you can learn from them, but don't just try to copy and imitate them. Create your own step, create your own style. So that was one of the advice that we learned from Crystal. The second one that I took the note of is schedule the practice/preparation time intentionally in your daily routine. That will help you to create a better mental wellness as well as to build your self confidence for your next performance time. The question was asked around the off season. So, great inputs given by Crystal that if you do not have an off season throughout your 12 months in a routine, create one. And that off season will again help you to regain your strength, to renew your energy, to take care of your own self. So focus on creating that off season if you do not have one. If you have one, then make sure that you focus on your own self. Lastly, focus on mental preparedness. Prepare your mindset in such a way that you are going for those intentional steps, is the terminology that Crystal used. So that was it from my end. I really appreciate Crystal, what you have shared and the work that you are doing. Wishing you all the best in your future endeavors, and let's stay connected and see how things work for you and for listeners. Now, again, is the time for you to put your shower your love to this episode. Share, like, and subscribe, as well as leave your comments on the notes. Thank you, and thank you, Crystal, again. Take care.
Thank you.